Hey guys, welcome to Marketing Cheat Guides. Today I have on the show Chaz Edward from web20ranker.com. Chaz, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. Why don't you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself and what you do in the world of digital marketing?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be here. Anytime I get to speak about what we do, what I do, is honorable. I came from an offline business owner. I owned a regional locksmith company back in 2000. And I had to make the transition from advertising in phone books and locally offline to the internet, getting the first website developed, getting your first ads running and stuff like that. And initially I was outsourcing all that to marketing agencies, very big names too. Very big names, like national names. And I was like, man, for what I'm paying, you would think I would get more. You think I'd be getting more for the business. So actually I started taking the business's online marketing over myself. It was a huge learning curve, but I learned by working on my own business, ranking my own business. I made some mistakes along the way. I've penalized my not penalty, but algorithmically filtered my website. I tried using SEO way back when, and had to learn how to do a double 301, stuff like that. So I learned by ranking and promoting my own assets. And then obviously I started networking and learning more and more, especially as more and more people got online, it became more competitive. So I had to step my game up. And as I did that, and this was before anything local, I think local didn't come out until like the 2012, but this was way before that. Just, it was very basic. Eventually, some of my family members, stuff like that, started asking me, hey, Chaz, can you help me do what you're doing? Because they didn't have websites yet. They didn't have any type of online presence. But yeah, so that's how I started. Very sorry about this. Let me find that phone. But that's how I started my journey into digital marketing and online by working on my own business, then family businesses. And then eventually the next step was they started sending me referrals. And before I knew it, I no longer had time to manage a locksmith company. I brought a manager in for that. And I went pretty much full-time into digital marketing. I ended up partnering up with two other individuals. We had an agency that agency doesn't exist anymore. But that was our first client agency. Towards the end of the client agency, we actually grew very, very fast, and we outgrew our sourcing team. And that's when I actually started building what would eventually become Web20Ranker, our internal team for fulfillment for our own clients. And that has since grown and scaled to now we're, a decent sized white label agency. We have international reach. I have 65 full-time team members at Web20Ranker. And Web20Ranker, we started that in 2015. So that's a little bit of my history and my journey and where we were able to get to in 2020. So.
Awesome. So just so everyone's clear kind of on what Web20Ranker actually provides, what type of services do you provide and who are you selling to?
Sure. So it's all white label SEO. We're talking link building, citations, social accounts. And then we also have the done for you, organic and a lot of GMB as well. We're probably most well known for our local and GMB stuff. But our main clients are agency owners, and we try to support our agency partners by giving them really great, solid white label service. So.
Awesome. So one of the things that you talked about that certainly would be applicable to most people watching this is the learning that you've probably acquired from growing a team from yourself, maybe a few partners, to a team of 65 people, and the whole process of introducing others into the system and how you've trained them up so that they can provide the type of reputable service that you guys provide. So can you speak a little bit to what kind of lessons you've learned along that journey?
Sure. So when it was just me launching Web 20, I slowly started assembling a collection of VAs. And so one of the first lessons I learned was monitor what your team's doing. Definitely monitor what they're doing. I've had VAs that came in and said there's two of them when it ended up there was one. And monitor, check what they're doing. Keep track of it. You don't want to just put them on something and forget about it. VAs need to be managed. We started with VAs. These were all virtual at that time. And I don't think that was the best way to go. It was the only way to go because we didn't have like a huge amount of funding to develop a remote office that we could actually put people in-house there at that point. So we did use the VA system, and there was a lot of turnover in VAs. I think you end up wasting a lot of time training. They talk a good game initially, but then there's internet outages, there's family sicknesses, they're saying they have another person, but in fact it's just them trying to get extra money. The VA thing isn't probably ideal. Unfortunately, when you're first starting, it's probably the easiest route to get team members. Once you actually have an office though, and you can actually start assembling a team, the thing there I think is to when you bring in a new team member, work from the bottom up. So you want to replace yourself from the bottom up. I made that mistake early on. We brought a couple people in and they were a little bit higher than where we actually needed them at that point. So if you're just starting out, you probably don't need $100,000 a year project manager, right? That's probably up here. And if your journey's, you're starting down here, you need to replace yourself down here. You need to replace yourself in customer support. You need to replace yourself in training the remote team. That's time intensive. When you're creating, whatever they do, you should SOP it out. You should have training videos. You need to quality assure all that. All that stuff is probably not an ideal use of your time. And it's down here. These are the things you need to replace first. And I made that mistake initially by bringing somebody in a little bit too high when we needed more people down here. And then it's just a series that you say, what am I working on, right? What am I working on that I can replace myself? And you just slowly start replacing yourself. And then, by that time, once you get to a midpoint of replacing yourself, your teams have probably maybe people underneath of them that you slowly start to have to do that with them as well. You have to start replacing them. So somebody that's doing customer support, if they've been doing it for months, they probably have a very great sense of, how your business works. So you might be able to promote them and replace some of what they're doing. And that's how we elevated the company, by strategically replacing ourselves from the bottom up. And what that helps do, the people that stick with you, they become really, really solid people. You've trained them. They've experienced the whole journey up with you. And you've replaced them as well as they go up. So you're promoting from within, everybody's rising, and the company just grows that way. And, that's what we really try to focus on. And I've since spun up some other brands, and we're trying to replicate that more and more in those other brands. But that's probably my biggest thing. If you have remote teams, watch them like a hawk. In-house, start replacing yourself from the bottom up. Don't look at top level stuff yet. Eventually you will, but by the time you get up there, you should have your whole organization structure built out beneath you. And then that's when you start replacing yourself with a marketing director, which, like Web 20, like this year, we just hired literally 2 weeks ago, a lady that's coming in going to be our marketing director. Like that's where we're at now. And we had to build up to that point. We couldn't bring her in 4 years ago when we were just starting out. it just wasn't there, right? You have to build it up to that. So
Build
hopefully anybody watching that's trying to build an agency, you can take some of those, and it's applicable whether it's a client agency, a SaaS product. You can do the same thing, start replacing yourself from the bottom up. It's probably my best piece of advice.
And so in terms of, you started off with VAs overseas, you've since said that you wouldn't necessarily go in that direction. So now when you're bringing in team members, are you hiring domestically and putting them actually into the offices? Still from the bottom up, but from the perspective of, if you're going to make the investment in them, you're willing to pay North American pricing?
So we have two offices. We have one in the US and we have one in Indoor. And it's actually our remote office is a real office. Like, we pay rent on it. We have our company registered over there. If the finances are there, you want to get a remote manager. You want to get somebody that's going to represent your company in this other country. They're familiar with the regulations and stuff. Help you establish an office over there where, especially if you're, depending on what you're doing too, if you're doing link outreach, you probably want to do it overseas somewhere, right? If you can, get a small office. It's relatively inexpensive in a lot of those countries. And then it's all about finding a good office manager that you can trust, that it wants to grow with your company, and just grow together, basically. So instead of VAs, I would probably try to establish a remote office if I had to do it all again, and I had the resources to do it. That would be my first thing. We had actually had a US office first, and then the remote office second. You probably could switch that around, I think. By the time you need a US office where, your management's at, more delicate tasks, or certain tasks have to be done in-house in the US or wherever you're at in your local country. By the time you're at that and you need to assemble everybody there, I'd say you could probably do the remote office first. But getting people in the office is so much better than having them work remotely as VAs. There's no central control over them. You can't do like centralized planning, centralized training. Everybody's remote. They can't support each other, right? So in our office, you can just see people helping each other. They're going around. It makes the team better. It makes you stronger, I think, by having people in-house. And it's easier to hold them accountable for things, to make sure that they're showing up on time, making sure they're not running bots on your time tracking software, which is a thing that we've encountered too. When you have them in one office, you can literally throw a security camera up and you can real time monitor your office if you want. Make sure everybody's working, make sure everybody's accountable. That's the way I would prefer. I hate losing money on things, and that's an area you can lose a lot of money on, is if you don't have the right team members and if you're not managing them correctly. I think people, some team members will try to take advantage of you, and you can lose money that way. So
you work with a lot of presumably SEO companies who are using your white label service to deliver. So what are the successful ones doing? So maybe this is something that our audience can learn from, in terms of the way I like to think about business. There's the attract phase, which is lead generation. There's the convert, which is the sales process. And there's the deliver, which is really the operation, the actual tangible service that you're delivering. It sounds like you take care of that delivery phase for your clients. What are some of your more successful clients doing, that maybe there's some experience sharing that people can understand that, hey, if you focus on these areas, you can build a successful company using a back-end service such as yours?
Absolutely. So the two biggest areas that I see the agencies that are having the most success that we partner with, the two main things that are doing really well: inbound lead generation and client retention, client reporting. Those are the two biggest areas. And the ones that struggle, what type of client reporting do they have? None. They don't have anything set up. They don't. You'd be surprised at how many of them don't actually have some really good client reporting stuff set up. It's huge, right? Client retention is your business. Like, you have to be able to speak about wins every month when they're getting ready to make that payment as soon as that payment's going to hit their credit card on the 20th, you better tell them about the wins that you had. And there's so many wins you can talk about. You talk about those wins on the 17th or the 18th, a couple of days before that credit card payment comes out. You have to make the time to do it. You don't have to send them links and show them. You just have to talk real numbers about their business. Talk about traffic that you push, the calls that resulted from that. You can do month over month, year over year, whatever. This month, 20% traffic increase versus last month. Great. That resulted in, a couple extra calls this month. Great. You just showed them value for the month. Okay. You don't have to show them all the stuff built. You don't have to do that minute. That actually leads into problems too. It can. But the other thing is very good inbound lead generation strategies. These agencies are niching down. I'm a huge fan of niching down. I have a client agency. I'm a partner in one. I don't want to say it's all me. I'm way too busy to have all me on all of these things, but I'm a partner in one, and that team has built an amazing inbound system, and they niche down, and we are the experts in that specific little niche, and it works amazingly well when you do that. You can start offering trainings. You can create a Facebook group to become an expert in. You have tons of content that these people in the industry, whatever industry or niche you're targeting, they're looking, how do I market my business? How do I market my, whatever it is, painting company, I don't know, plumbing company, right? How do I market my plumbing company? How do I get more calls for my plumbing company? Business owners are looking for that. Make sure your content's out there that they can find it. It's super easy. That stuff's super easy to rank for. Those niche type of terms. When you start niching down, your articles will start popping up. You'll start getting visibility, and you'll start getting inbound. And then you can start building maybe a Facebook group to collect them all together. You could offer maybe a free or even a paid training. Maybe a free training, and then maybe upgrade to a paid training, and then a done-for-you service after that. Having those type of systems in the front end of your business is hugely powerful, and they tend to work so much better than cold calling, cold emailing, sending out the cold video scripts, that type of stuff. Not that that stuff's bad. You should do that too. You should have some people doing that. But creating that inbound flow is so important. You're going to close more of them. You're going to position yourself as an expert. And there's other ways to monetize that too, other than just selling them a $3,000 a month marketing package. You can literally do a mastermind training course, and people will come and pay a lot of money to hear you speak or to listen to how you do it. And then a percentage of them is going to hire you to do it for them anyway. So, so those two areas, client reporting and inbound funnels, the agencies that are crushing it, that's what they're doing extremely well. So,
okay. So then on that, just if whatever you can share without disclosing, obviously, any confidential information, but in terms of the type of reporting that you see agencies that are quote unquote killing it, what type of tools are they using to consolidate their reporting? Is it something like an agency analytics? Are they using something else that is really differentiating them? Obviously, if you compare it to people who are doing nothing, that's not a very high bar. But if you could share some of the best practices that you've seen, I'm sure the audience would get a ton of value from that.
So there's a combination. Big fan of agency analytics. You will have a percentage of the clients that just won't schedule a call with you ever. Even though you can do whatever, send them a link, something they can see. They have something tangible that they can go into, but don't stop there, right? First, something like agency analytics, their rank tracker is more of a benchmark, especially if you're doing local. Like, it's okay, and it's more of just a benchmark. If you're doing something like local, consider, again, a shameless plug, maybe something like Local Viking that does the GeoGrid reporting, and you can actually animate the GIF to show the visual improvement. That's really great. It also allows for 18 months of GMB history, insight history. You can compare months. Makes it easy to do month-over-month reporting for your GMBs. You can see, this month I had 12 calls versus 6 other month. We doubled your calls, whatever. we use Zoom. Like we're on Zoom right now. This is the tool. One of our biggest tools is people are using Zoom. You can screen share with it. You can go into the analytics account and show them literally, here's the users that increased. You can open up your call tracking, whatever you're using, your call tracking dashboard, show them the numbers. Share if they get on the call with you or your client retention manager, whatever you call them, the project manager, dig into analytics and just pull a couple wins and prepare to give them the wins. You don't have to go into a lot of detail. Another thing that we're helping some of our agencies do to help with the ones that don't jump on the call, like a little video, 5-minute video at the end of their campaign month, right before it rebuilds, shoot a little screen recording where you can go over it, like, hey, here's your new users this month, up 20%. Here's your calls from GMB, up whatever, right? Show them the couple wins, send them the video, encourage them to watch it if you can. Combine that with something like agency analytics and maybe the local Viking GeoGrid report, something visual that they can look at. But those are kind of the things that they're doing. Not everybody's doing all of it, but now in our client agency, we actually do all of that. Because we actually found what's this agency doing that's working really well? Well, we kind of tweak it for ourselves, right? Because why reinvent the wheel? But for our agency, our client agency, we had the problem with some of these people were just so busy professionals. It was hard for them to jump on an end of the month call with the lady that does that. She's like our relationship manager. So we actually started doing little videos, little recap videos, and then sending them links to everything so they can hopefully go and look. The ones that are really, in tune with the marketing of their business, they will take the time to jump on their call, or they'll have an office manager or their in-house marketing team jump on the call with us. But we try to use Zoom. I encourage people to use Zoom, man. It allows you to visually show them stuff rather than just be on the phone. And you can record it. So if you're not doing it yourself, but you have a team member, you can quality control them. And you can use it for training purposes when you bring in another client relationship manager. So
fantastic. And in terms of best practices that you've seen, so you've already talked about niching down, building funnels, building some training, offering some education in the beginning of the funnel or top of funnel, moving them into either free or a paid training, masterminds, and then ultimately leading them to the done-for-you service. Is that a good synopsis of what you're seeing the best in-house doing in terms of your clients?
Not all of them have the training stuff built in, but I mean, there's some that do, and that's amazing. Like they're doing amazingly well. They're actually holding like national conferences on they're hosting it, right? So yeah, that stuff like that's amazing. If you're not quite there and you don't have that training portion available, still having that content that people can find and access. Think about creating a small Facebook community of whatever niche it is. Become the expert in that niche, and then start putting out value, giving the value for free initially. It becomes a lead magnet, right? Create that lead magnet that's valuable for people, and it'll attract them.
Awesome. So you've been at this now since 2000, since you transitioned from being in the locksmith business. Looking back, somebody that's earlier in their journey, what are a couple of things you would say to a younger version of yourself that you wish you would have known when you launched into this online digital marketing world?
I would have said probably to myself, niche down. When we first started and I first started, I was doing it all. Even when we did the initial client agency, we offered it all and we tried to do it all. And it's like, we weren't ready for that yet. We should have niched down and created maybe like a standard, not necessarily a one size fits all, but maybe like some standardized packages, if you will, or options that look kind of custom, but really aren't. And then figure out what your wheelhouse is. And then, initially don't offer anything outside your wheelhouse. Keep focused. And then as you scale, that's when you start scaling with other additional services, and then you grow that way. When you first start up, I don't want to say just do one thing, because that's bad advice too. You have to have a couple options. You have to probably do web design, some type of probably paid traffic, and some type of organic promotion. But do you have to do everything? Do you have to do LinkedIn and Twitter or Instagram? No, you probably don't have to do all that. Figure out what your niche really needs and what's going to be most beneficial to them, and then create some of your packages around that. Like, if you're working with auto dealers, maybe there's certain directories. Say, okay, we're going to do this niche directory thing. Then we're going to do, you need this web. You need the web design done. What about paid traffic? I don't know. I'm not really in that niche, but is it effective or not? Maybe we don't even offer it right now. Maybe we just focus on something else that actually is effective. My piece of advice would have been niche down sooner.
Awesome. All right. So in terms of your time today, sounds like you're involved in a couple of businesses. How do you find yourself spending time today as a leader in your business? Do you have any tips or tricks or hacks, morning routines, anything that you would say has made a difference in the productivity side for you?
So a couple of things. First, it feels like you're juggling. Like, literally, I'll be honest with you, every day, all day, it feels like I juggle, right? I juggle multiple issues that come up. I juggle multiple businesses, multiple brands. The thing that kind of keeps me progressing towards my goals is I use lists of notes. I'll have notes I need to do today, then I'll have notes I need to do this month, and I'll have notes where I want to get things started eventually. And I do notes. I extensive note taker. I have right beside me, I have piles of notes, and I cross them off and I complete things. I have other notes. I have notes upon notes. That's how I stay organized and figure out what I need to do. What on my notes can I delegate to somebody else? But you're going to have to juggle. If you're growing, you're scaling. If you're aggressive, you have multiple brands. Maybe, I wake up, I hit Facebook, I go through my messages, I do my morning routine. Then some days I dedicate to one brand versus the other. So I have my days split like that. You just try to, whatever works for you to stay organized. But for me, it's notes. It's an extensive note-taking system. As simple as that sounds. So
awesome.
And goals. Obviously, knowing what your goals are, having a plan to get there. That's what the notes help me get to my goals. So.
Awesome. What's something you've spent less than $250 on recently that you're really enjoying? Doesn't have to be marketing related, just something that you've acquired that has brought some happiness into your life.
You know what? It would probably be my son's train set. Nice. I never had a train set when I was younger. We actually got him a pretty nice one and have some trains, and I don't really sit there for hours playing with it, but I enjoy having that and having him play with it. So I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else other than that. Awesome. I love anything. That's probably a pretty cool thing I get to do.
Yeah. Whatever. Quality time with the kids should be at the top of the list anyway. So I think that's a great way for us to end this interview. I really appreciate you taking the time. Guys, if you're still watching this, definitely hit that thumbs up button. If you have any questions, drop them below. If people want to check out what it is that you're working on, get in touch. Should we be sending them to web20ranker.com?
They can check out Web20. They can also see us, our Facebook group, Local Client Takeover. We have a community of local marketers there as well. So.
Awesome. I'll make sure to link to that in the notes, guys. And so I'll see you guys in the next episode.